Alrighty, my name is Samantha Odom-wiensch, and today I'm going to be talking to you about mainstreaming deaf students. So I thought we would start with just the basics. I have a quote here that tells us what mainstreaming is from Special Education of Rights and Responsibilities. It says that mainstreaming refers to the placement of a student with disabilities into ongoing activities of regular classrooms so that the child receives an education with non-disabled peers, even if special education staff must provide supplementary resource services. So that just kind of explains that mainstreaming is when we put a disabled student, in this case we're focusing on deaf students, into non-special education scenarios or classrooms and giving them the supplementary resources such as interpreters, note takers, assisted listening devices, whatever they may need to kind of get on even footing with their non-disabled peers. So how did that begin? Elizabeth Matthews said in her book, she just put it in a very nice way, I think, that the systematic shift towards legislation directing children with disabilities be educated with their non-disabled peers, i.e. mainstreaming, began in the mid-1970s. The mainstreaming movement has its roots in other civil rights movements of the 1960s and 70s that brought attention to these issues of equality, human rights, and individual diversity. So, in the 60s and 70s, when we started looking at how we were interacting with different people in our social situations, just different, again, civil rights issues, equality issues, human rights issues, we also started to look at how our children are being treated. And most important with our children is often their education. And when we looked at children who were disabled, we started to realize that their education was not up to par with the education that their non-disabled peers were receiving. So that created the goal of mainstreaming, essentially, which is to have a child in a least restrictive environment, the LRE. Federal law states that students with disabilities are to receive their education to the maximum extent appropriate with non-disabled peers, and that special education students are not removed from regular classes unless with supplemental aids and services, education in regular classes cannot be achieved satisfactorily. So that just kind of puts in a very broad sense that disabled students belong with their non-disabled peers in the same classroom as long as they're receiving an adequate education that is beneficial to them, that they are absorbing, that they are able to understand, and that they deserve to have those supplemental resources in life to make sure that they're communicating with their peers effectively and just being part of the general youth group that they're in.